I think things are moving forward just as they should. Our board was seated on August 20th of last year. A lot of people think that there's been quite a bit of time between when the board was seated and today, but actually if you think about it, it's not a whole lot of months' time to get as far as FirstNet's progressed. We're starting to put RFIs out on the street. There's a devices RFI that FirstNet has put out, and there's a lot of other RFIs that are going to be coming out. So there's a lot of work going on in the background right now to ensure that we're moving forward as fast as we can while making sure that we're meeting public safety's needs and making sure to talk to all the states and localities that we possibly can to make sure that their feedback and input is being taken into consideration as the network is being built. I think the learning is definitely going to go in both directions. Right now, collaboratively, we're trying to coordinate with as many countries, across the world that are looking at public safety LTE as possible. So we're learning, what the Canadians and the Australians and the UK and the Germans and everybody else are trying to do with respect to public safety LTE at the same time that we're learning ourselves. And so I think, what we're getting out of it, and I think hopefully what the rest of the globe is getting out of it, is looking at a global public safety LTE ecosystem rather than just a North America or US-centric one first, and trying to make sure that we have a global market for these kind of products. I think the easy stuff are things like email and instant messaging and access to web pages and databases and voice calling. There's some newer thinking, a lot of newer thinking that's going on, things like biometric suits for firefighters and bulletproof vests that can detect the impact of a bullet and send out alert messages. There's a lot of innovative thinking going on. But I think until public safety really has access to a broadband network, that's when the flood of new applications and services, I think, will really start to hit. And so much like some of the commercial operators, when they started offering smartphones, saw a flood of mobile broadband data hit their networks. A lot of people believe that public safety will experience the same kind of mass innovation once they actually have access to the very big transportation pipes that LTE can provide. Right now, what a lot of people always talk about first is video. And I think it's because, outside of fixed video, where whether it's traffic cameras or other types of things, there's just not a lot of access to mobile video. And so we've been doing work for years and trying to work with public safety to find out what would they do with video. We've been doing video quality work, trying to understand the different conditions under which they'd use video. And there's a lot of different ways they can use video. In the fire service, they can use video to actually look at the color of smoke, because the color of smoke of a burning building tells them a huge amount of information about what's going on inside that burning building. The materials it's made out of, whether or not there's chemicals inside the building. They watch the smoke plumes to figure out which direction they're going to move. So there's a huge amount of information that they can actually take on that site and push out to other resources to help manage what could be a large incident from a very large amount of area. But video tends to be the killer app right now. Also because it's probably the application that's going to take the most bandwidth of any other application. So when people think killer, it's not just the most popular, it's also the one that's likely to take up most of the capacity on the network. It's very possible. Right now, as of December of last year in Barcelona, the 3GPP Standards Development Organization that's standardizing LTE made public safety the #1 priority for Release 12. 3GPP does LTE standardization and releases, and so we're working on Release 12 right now. And the major features that we're working on that there are gaps in the LTE technology are what public safety calls direct mode, which is a device-to-device communications absent infrastructure. And so we're working on that within 3GPP, as well as trying to ensure that the LTE standard is more group efficient, given that the majority of public safety communications are group-based. And so we're not having some of the resource battles within 3GPP that we were in the past now that we've been prioritized as the #1 thing for Release 12. And so I think it's very possible, as long as the rest of the world continues to focus around LTE as the technology of choice for public safety. I think it's key. Like I said before, the collaboration with the global environment is key to success. For instance, in 3GPP, like we were talking about, we would not actually have been successful in 3GPP, the United States on its own trying to influence that standards development organization, hadn't the Tetra Association actually written a liaison letter into 3GPP saying, if you don't work to meet public safety's requirements, Tetra Association won't choose LTE as its next technology. That actually had the driving influence that allowed us to bring public safety's requirements into 3GPP. And if the Tetra Association hadn't done that, we would not be successful right now within 3GPP. And so, coming to events like this are key to the coordination that we have right now between, in the U.S. there's a group called the National Public Safety Telecommunications Council, which is a group of groups of the public safety community, and they have a memorandum of understanding with the Tetra Association to work together to collaborate to build global public safety requirements for communications. And so all the coordination and the vendor community that's here and the public safety organizations that are here, again, it's key to that global collaboration to keep things moving, not just in any one country, but around the world.